This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Good afternoon. Happy Friday, everybody. Carl Defenbaugh with you here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, joining you from the FOX6 studios here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, ready to take you all around the country and all around our great state of Wisconsin here on this Friday. Apparently, it's a Friday in the computer department as well, just playing catch-up here as the operating system that we're on didn't want to wake up and get going on this Friday afternoon for another 2 riveting hours of the Wisconsin Live Desk. So apologies, kind of playing catch-up on getting some things for you here, but we will fast get things going for you. First and foremost, we'll just throw up a beautiful shot of downtown Milwaukee. What a difference over the last few days when it comes to the haze and gray from that wildfire smoke. We can actually make out some of those blue skies above Milwaukee while still experiencing some of the smoke continuing in our area. In fact, pulling up our friendly friends in the weather office graphic here, still some moderate air quality issues for parts of Milwaukee. Green Bay, kind of a target right there. The rest of the state, though, finally has a little bit of relief here on this Friday. And then kind of taking you up near Green Bay. Thought this was kind of a fun camera to show you as well. I believe this is Sturgeon Bay, the kind of gateway to Door County up there, and the bridge over the river there. So many people up and about, maybe on that boat out there on the river, and others to enjoy the nice weather on this Friday, and with a few weekends of summer still here for us to enjoy. So that's the good news on this Friday afternoon. Now, some of the other things that we are looking at for you here today, we'll give you another live look at the White House. This is, of course, from our nation's capital. We'll have some updates from the Trump administration, some of the things that they have announced and done today, including an order from the president on increased law enforcement in Washington, D.C. The White House, in fact, mulling a city takeover, and we'll get into exactly what that could look like, the reality of whether that could happen. Meanwhile, the DOJ, the Department of Justice under the Trump administration, has also subpoenaed the New York Attorney General, who's been an opponent of the president, investigating whether or not she violated President Trump's rights with some of the investigations that have happened into the president both before he retook office as well as some continuing. So a lot happening here on this Friday when it comes to the White House. We also have our stakeout camera outside of the White House, so if any government officials step to the podium there outside of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, we will bring you that as well, any developments that happen. The Vice President, J.D. Vance, is actually meeting with the UK Foreign Secretary right now, but I believe that's happening actually in the UK, not here in D.C. I'll double check that for you. Here on this Friday afternoon, it is also, of course, entering the final weekend of the Wisconsin State Fair. The Brewers are back in town as well, so just a whole lot going on here in Milwaukee on this August weekend. A lot to look forward to with the Mets, of course, the rivals from recent playoff performances and postseason performances, coming back to eliminate the Brewers last year. The Brewers playing so well these days. They start homestand, starting with the series against the Mets tonight at 7:10, first pitch at American Family Field. So we'll get you some info on that as well. Just been incredible to see. You know what? I'm just curious. Going into the year, of course, the Brewers not expected to be this good. They were expected to contend potentially, but nowhere close to the best team in Major League Baseball, which they have been. I'm curious. Yes, indeed. ESPN's power rankings have the Brewers right where they should be, number one in the recently released power rankings, as they were in last week's as well. They just continue to roll. So much happening right for the team. You know what? This just popped up as well, so let's see what's happening here. That is the Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney, stepping to the podium with the banner there, Protecting Canada. So let's listen to what's happening to our neighbors to the north. Of course, an ongoing back and forth between the U.S. and Canada has to say on this Friday afternoon.
In our country. Minister McGuinty, Chief of the Defense Staff, carry on.
And wouldn't you know it, just like that, it switches back to the White House. So not sure exactly if that feed got dropped or what happened there, but was hoping to hear some of the opinions and aspect of our neighbors to the north in Canada, but we'll have to wait for that. Hoping that we can also get some word from President Donald Trump. Excuse me, our producer Delaney speaking to me here. What was that, Delaney? Oh, we can get you that Prime Minister feed. Thank you very much. This is the joy of the live desk happening by the moment here. So let me pop this up for you. Give me a second. We do have another feed from the Prime Minister. There it is. So let's listen in to Mark Carney. Thank you, Delaney, discussing the protection of Canada with members of the military.
With a fleet of tactical and strategic transport aircraft, the capabilities here are diverse. From delivering supplies to the high Arctic, we were just talking about alert, to facilitating peacekeeping missions around the world with our allies. Every year, hundreds of Air, Army, and Naval cadets come here to learn, to train, and to test themselves, preparing to wear the uniform and carry forward the proud tradition of service you represent. You in Trenton take on immense responsibilities, knowing it will require extraordinary personal sacrifice to protect Canada's peace and security. And the calls on your dedication have only been growing. We're living in an increasingly dangerous and divided world. The international order, built after the Second World War and reshaped following the Cold War, is under pressure. Russia is emboldened. China is more assertive. The long-held view that Canada's geographic location will protect us is becoming archaic. Our Arctic waters are increasingly open, and there have been rapid advances in cyber, artificial intelligence, quantum, and advanced missile capabilities. Climate change is making our country more vulnerable. The Arctic's melting. Our wildfires and floods are more frequent and devastating. And these are all threats to which the Canadian Armed Forces responds. The Canadian Forces keep our people and communities safe through major disasters. I'll give examples. This summer, Canadian Forces have helped communities in Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Ontario, Quebec, soon Newfoundland and Labrador, including already by safely evacuating over 6,000 Canadians. This week alone, Canadian Forces members, originally from CFB Trenton, airdropped life-saving humanitarian aid into Gaza. Canadian Armed Forces are standing guard in Latvia and continue to deploy around the world to stand with our allies in defense of peace and security. When a crisis breaks, or Canada's safety is threatened anywhere in the world, this base is the first to spring into action. And from CFB Trenton, fallen heroes have been repatriated to their families with honor, carried along the highway of heroes, draped in the maple leaf, to be etched in our memories. CFB Trenton is much more than an Air Force base. It's a community. And here, service isn't just lived by those in uniform, but also reflected in the strength, the support, and yes, the sacrifice of every military family. Their service is grounded in values, in a love for our country that makes those sacrifices possible, commitments that keep Canada strong. And in the minister's visit a few weeks ago and visits to come, in my remarks today, we're investing in that strength. Le nouveau gouvernement du Canada va réinvestir pour rebâtir et réarmer les forces armées canadiennes grâce à une stratégie reposant sur 4 piliers. Nous allons investir dans ce qui est la base de la défense, ceux qui servent, ainsi que l'équipement et l'infrastructure qu'ils utilisent. Nous allons améliorer et moderniser nos capacités militaires avec plus d'avions, de véhicules de combat, de drones et de systèmes de détection et en repérant les navires de la marine canadienne. Nous allons renforcer l'industrie canadienne de la défense et finalement, nous allons diversifier les partenariats du Canada en matière de défense. Au cœur de ces investissements se trouvent les hommes et les femmes des forces armées canadiennes. Canadians have always been proud of our armed forces and respect your unwavering dedication. But just as we have taken our security for granted for too long we have relied too heavily on that dedication of women and men who keep us secure. As the demands on our Canadian Armed Forces have increased, their resources and their salaries have not kept pace. And these are the men and women we trust to wear the maple leaf, the Canadian flag, and to risk their lives for it. Their pay, your pay, should reflect the weight of your responsibilities. In Halifax a few months ago, I shared our vision to rebuild, rearm, and reinvest in the Canadian Armed Forces in order to protect Canada's sovereignty, to bolster our industrial capacity and create new careers for our workers. And at that time, I committed that Canada's new government would raise the pay of all members of the Canadian Armed Forces. And today, with Minister McGuinty and with Deputy Millett, I'm proud to fulfill that commitment by announcing that all members of the Canadian Armed Forces will receive a pay raise. Specifically, there will be an 8% raise for colonels and above, a 13% raise for lieutenant colonels and below, and a 20% raise in starting pay for privates in the regular force. These increases will be retroactive to April 1st of this year. There'll be increases on top of base pay, putting more money in the pockets of everyone. We will also introduce a new military service pay benefit specifically tied to time in service, so that paychecks honor years in uniform. We will also introduce additional supports in the coming months for members preparing for combat and high-risk training, so they are paid fairly in addition for those intense commitments. We will make posting allowances fairer, based on how many times members have had to uproot their lives, the lives of their families, to protect ours. And will give more support when those moves take them far from their families. And if the members of the forces are called to serve here at home in a flood, a wildfire, or another disaster, we'll recognize that service with increased pay as well. And finally, we will target extra support to the critical trades where we need the personnel the most, so we can keep the Canadian Armed Forces ready at all times. These increases in pay and incentives will help us to revitalize and transform recruitment and retention, to bolster force readiness, and to ensure that members in uniform have the confidence and certainty that they need. At Canadian Armed Forces bases, like Trenton, service isn't an abstract ideal, it's a lived reality. And in that lived reality, behind every member in uniform, there's a family that serves right alongside them. Spouses who pack up the house on short notice, move across the country or around the world and build a new life from scratch. Kids who have to change schools and leave friends behind. Parents who spend holidays with an empty seat at the table, trusting the child they raised will make it home safely. So when we raise pay, we're not just recognizing the Armed Forces member, as important as that is, we're also helping to strengthen their families. Higher pay means greater financial resilience, more stability, more career choices for spouses, and more opportunities for their children to pursue their dreams. Lorsque les membres des forces armées seront mobilisés ici au pays ou outre-mer, ils pourront se concentrer sur leur mission, sans autre préoccupation. C'est comme ça que nous faisons en sorte que lorsque les Canadiens et Canadiennes sont en détresse, lorsque nos alliés appellent à l'aide, ou lorsque notre souveraineté est menacée, les forces armées canadiennes seront prêtes. Now, in addition to the substantial pay raises, we're focused on providing our CAF members with the resources that they need and deserve. Canada's new government recognizes that our military infrastructure and equipment have aged, hindering our military preparedness. We recognize that only one of our 4 submarines is seaworthy, that less than half our maritime fleet and land vehicles are operational. So we're modernizing our military equipment and technology. We're building up our own defense and security industries and diversifying those international defense partnerships. With investments of over $9 billion this year, Canada will reach our 2% NATO pledge, 2% of GDP NATO pledge, half a decade before schedule. And we will further accelerate our investments in years to come. At the NATO summit earlier this year in The Hague, the Minister and I announced Canada's intention to meet the new defense investment pledge of 5% of annual GDP over the next decade, by 2035. And to put that into context, our total spending on defense and security will quadruple by the end of this decade relative to 2023-24 levels. Now, we are laser focused on ensuring that this spending has the maximum impact on behalf of all Canadians. That means working with the best partners. It means getting maximum value for money with the greatest benefit for jobs and economic activity here in Canada. And that's why in June we concluded the new EU-Canada Security and Defence Partnership to advance Canada's participation in the European Security Initiative and Rearm Europe plan. This will give us better access to European defence partners for our needs, and it will give our defence suppliers greater opportunities to help supply Europe's needs. We are also in the process of creating a new defence procurement agency to move at pace to get our armed forces the equipment that they need when they need it. And our investments in defence will expand Canada's industrial capacity so we can equip Canadian armed forces using Canadian steel, Canadian aluminum, Canadian critical minerals, Canadian cyber, and Canadian lumber. We will increase our security presence around the world, including to protect NATO's eastern flank, and by protecting Canada, we will protect NATO's western flank. Pour que nous puissions nous battre sur de nouveaux champs de bataille en territoire inconnu. Pour que nous puissions défendre chaque centimètre de notre territoire souverain, des fonds marins à l'Arctique, en passant par le cyberspace. Pour que nos soldats, nos marins, nos aviateurs et nos cyberspécialistes aient les outils dont ils ont besoin pour protéger les Canadiens, nos intérêts et nos alliés. Pour que nos femmes et nos hommes en uniforme puissent servir avec confiance. So much of Canada's history has been written by those who served in our armed forces. As a country, we came of age at Vimy Ridge. We cemented our reputation as defender of freedom on Juno Beach and as a liberator of the Netherlands. Now that story continues to be written by heroes such as the men and women standing in this hangar. Those seated as well. Those chapters that they're writing, those chapters that are being written by the Canadian Armed Forces, may be new, but the theme remains the same. In times of crisis, when someone sees a maple leaf on a sleeve, they see hope, and they get help. So we're committing the resources so that the women and men of the Canadian Forces can deliver that help. Because at this hinge moment of history, Canada's leadership will be measured not just by the strength of our values, but also by the value of our strength. Thank you very much for your attention. I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Prime Minister.
It's quite the speech from the Prime Minister of Canada there, Mark Carney, addressing the reality for Canada and for the Canadian Armed Forces specifically in a changing world. He spoke to climate change and the way that that has opened up the Arctic, not the ice border that has lasted for so many decades between Canada and Russia. A warming globe means a warming Arctic as well, melting sea ice, opening up minerals available in the Arctic Circle, but also opportunity for many different countries trying to act there. And of course, the references to the southern border as well, and the different relationship now between Canada and the U.S. than what had been the decades-long relationship between two allies now, with some of the disagreements between Mark Carney and President Donald Trump here in the U.S. A notable addition to that, speaking of Trump, saying that the defense spending would be increased to that 2% of GDP as a member of NATO, that the president here in the U.S. has asked all NATO members to reach and has pushed for in his possible statements about what the U.S. would do when it comes to NATO if that was not reached as well. So a number of different topics there from Mark Carney. As he takes some questions here, we do have to take our first break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, so we want to get you back to some of those comments, some of the other news happening locally, including the passing of an NFL legend, former Packer, that we'll tell you about, and some of the impact both on and off the field that he had over the decades, still to come here on the Wisconsin Live Desk.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Hey, welcome back. 12:53 here on your Friday afternoon. Carl Deffenbaugh hanging with you here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, wild as we like to call it in the newsroom here at Fox 6. A number of different things we want to get over the next 40 minutes or so that I'm here with you before I hand over to Ben Handelman. But first and foremost, some sad news from the land of the NFL and from the Packers specifically, as we got word this morning that Packers star Billy Howton, believed to have been the oldest living former player in NFL history, has now died at the age of 95. A fascinating career for the former Packers star, a wide receiver, one of the toughest in the league during his heyday in the 1950s and 60s. Died at the age of 95. But he also was notable because he was the first president of the NFL Players Association as well. Now, according to an obituary posted from a funeral home in Houston, Howton actually died back on August 4th, but that was announced just this morning, his passing more publicly. Again, 95 years old, former Packers star in the pre-Super Bowl era, one of the most productive wide receivers in the NFL during that phase, also the founder and first president of the NFL Players Association. And you think about all that organization has been able to accomplish for its players and trying to balance the power between the owners of the NFL and the players who actually produce the on-field product. over the decades all goes back to Billy Howton starting that and founding it and serving as the first president of the NFLPA. A little bit more about his career, if you're not familiar. Born in Texas, in Littlefield, back in 1930, and yes, believed to have been the oldest living NFL player until August 4th. He actually scored the Packers' first receiving touchdown at Lambeau Field in 1957. He got his start in the NFL in 1952 after an All-American career at Rice as a college player. He's actually a member of the Rice Hall of Fame. He was then drafted by the Packers in 1952 and became the first NFL rookie with a 1,000-yard receiving season. He had 1,231 yards in his rookie year. What a way to make an entrance at a time when passing was not as prolific as it is today. He actually led the league in receiving yards twice, was named to 4 different Pro Bowls, a 2-time All-Pro, and holds Green Bay's single-game franchise record still to this day, 257 receiving yards in a 1956 game against the LA Rams. When he retired in 1963 after trade to the Cleveland Browns, and then a member of the Dallas Cowboys for their inaugural team in 1960, spending a few years there at the end of his career. But when he retired in 63, he was the NFL's all-time leading receiver in receptions and receiving yards, and was inducted into the Packer Hall of Fame in 1974. How about this quote from a Hall of Famer? Safety Emlyn Tunnell said before the 1958 season, which ended up being Houghton's last with the Packers, "For my money, Houghton is the toughest pass receiver to cover in the National League." Pretty lofty praise there. 7 full seasons with the Green Bay Packers, then that time with the Browns and Cowboys. Houghton, a member of the Rice Hall of Fame, a 2-time All-Pro in the NFL, died at the age of 95. Hearing that, according to an obituary, the death actually happened August 4th in Houston, Texas. So there you go. Sad news today for the Packers, although certainly a career and a life that will be celebrated by many. All that, of course, ahead of the Packers' first preseason game. It's coming tomorrow with the New York Jets, the first of 3 preseason games for the Packers before they get the regular season started in September against the Detroit Lions. We also want to tell you a little bit about what's coming up in terms of, let me pull this up for you right now. Sorry, we're getting word from Texas, not about the death of Billy Howton. We just had that reference from Houston. This is instead a live look at the Texas House floor. So taking you to Austin, Texas right now, the state capitol building there, for a live feed from the House floor. Of course, this has been a continuing saga now since Democratic lawmakers in Texas left the state, many of them going to Democratic strongholds throughout the country, including Illinois to our south, avoiding the possibility of a redistricting vote that Republicans in Texas had pushed for over the last few weeks, really, basically with the ultimate goal of adding 5 strongly Republican districts to the legislative map in time for the next midterm election that could control or decide the balance of power in Congress when it comes to the House of Representatives at the national level. This is a look at the House floor in Texas with those Democratic leaders from Texas leaving the state. They have not been able to hold those necessary votes. Of course, Republicans in control of the state house in Texas, but without people there for a quorum, they could not have those votes. So we'll see what happens with that. Any other developments that we can bring you here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, we certainly will. And you know, it certainly has been referenced by many, but sort of shades of what we saw here in Wisconsin back in 2010 with Act 10 going in, or 2011, excuse me, with Democratic leaders from the Wisconsin State Assembly leaving the state, trying to avoid voting, and as a last-ditch effort to avoid what was the result of Act 10, all of those protests inside the state capitol in Madison. Texas lawmakers on the Democratic side doing a similar process, trying to avoid this vote in Texas on what could be the redistricting of a number of different congressional districts in Texas. And while this is moving around, let me also give you another feed that we have here, kind of beauty shots of the Texas House right now and some of the House of Representatives planning to meet at the state capitol in Austin, Texas. So we're seeing a number of different things there happening in Texas while the live feed inside that building. You know, it's kind of funny. I was actually just in this building relatively recently, a few months ago. Friend's wedding, former reporter here at Fox 6, Amelia Jones, got married in Austin, Texas. So we were down there. My wife and I just popped in. It was empty at the time. The house was not in session, and it was over a weekend. But interesting to see that massive building and all the different desks there. Now, of course, has become the center of a national debate over redistricting, with Democratic states threatening to follow suit and try to rework their legislative maps if, in fact, Texas Republicans and the White House, President Trump, get their way, with the possibility of adding 5 strongly Republican-leaning districts to the legislative map in time for the midterm battle that will be coming to us next year, 2026. So there we go. We'll keep you updated if anything changes from that end of things down in Texas. For right now, though, another break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, and then we'll get back to some local stories for you, including one from our Brett Lemoyne out and about at American Family Field today. We'll have that for you after this.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Hey, welcome back. Carl Deffenbaugh with you here just past the 1 o'clock hour on your Friday afternoon. It's a hot one, already 90 here in Milwaukee, and it's going to be even hotter for the weekend. But you know what? The only thing hotter, the Milwaukee Brewers, who are back in town hosting the New York Mets at the beginning of a homestand tonight. Tonight is their Cerveceros, Latin American and Hispanic Heritage Night at the ballpark. You get a Christian Yelich bobblehead tomorrow if you go. And then Saturday, even hotter than the Brewers perhaps, is the fastballs coming off the arm of Jacob Mizorowski. The Miz t-shirt that we've talked about previously will be the giveaway for Sunday. So a great weekend ahead for the Brewers, and an even better weekend and year ahead for a Brewers fan as we bring in our Brett Lemoyne now. I misspoke. I thought he was at American Family Field. He's actually at the medical college, because this is a absolutely astounding story of recovery and beating the odds, Brett. So let's start with this Brewers fan who will be celebrated at the ballpark later on. What did he have, and how dire was a diagnosis for this man from Merton?
Yeah, well, good afternoon, Carl. You know, I always like finding unique stories to share with our Fox 6 viewers, and this one is really just astounding. We met a man, his name is Jeff Vanderkin. He lives in the town of Merton in Waukesha County. And he is a pancreatic cancer survivor. I don't know if you know anything about pancreatic cancer, but it is one of the deadliest forms of cancer there is. The statistics show about 1.6% of the population gets pancreatic cancer at some point in their lifetime, and the odds are just not good. It's a 13% 5-year survival rate. So in other words, if you get pancreatic cancer, only 13% live more than 5 years after their diagnosis. So it is pretty grim. Now the numbers, those statistics decrease pretty significantly when you consider what stage Jeff's cancer was. He was stage 4. So Carl, it's about a 3% to some statistics I've read, 1% survival rate. So not only 1.5% of the population could potentially get pancreatic cancer at some point in their lifetime, but for stage 4, only maybe 1% survive. So this is truly, truly extraordinary. And let me just give you a little bit of background as to how Jeff even found out that he had pancreatic cancer, because this is really the news you can use for our viewers. It's so important. Jeff has a winter home in Tennessee, and Jeff and his wife were there visiting some family in Tennessee. And for about 2 weeks, he had a pain in his stomach. He said it wasn't really a sharp pain, it was just overall discomfort. In fact, frankly, he thought it was gas for a while after Thanksgiving, but it persisted for about 2 weeks, and finally he said, I need to go see a doctor. So he went to a doctor in Tennessee. They, of course, ran some tests, and long story short, they ended up finding a mass on his pancreas. Well, Jeff is a religious man. He's a Christian, and he's got a lot of friends, obviously, in Waukesha County and Milwaukee County and our area. He was out for a hike after this revelation that he had a tumor on his pancreas, and he called one of his friends who lives in the area here, who also used to work at Freighter behind me, and said, hey, I just got this diagnosis. The doctors say that I've got pancreatic cancer. The friend said, without hesitation, come back home. Come back home to the Milwaukee area and go to the Medical College of Wisconsin, because they tout world-renowned surgeons here. In fact, the Medical College of Wisconsin says, based on their own statistics, that they have increased that 13% survival rate over 5 years to 30%. So he came here right away and began treatment. And Carl, I mean, almost miraculously, within about 2 months of receiving chemo here, his tumor started to shrink. And 4 months after that, the tumor was almost gone. He says this is just unbelievable. It's something that he's been praying about a lot ever since. And so about a year ago, they were actually able to get it to the point where they were able to do surgery, because initially they said this is inoperable and it's incurable. And so they removed part of his pancreas. They had to also remove his spleen. And now today, Carl, he is not exhibiting any symptoms, any signs of cancer. He's technically not in remission. He's in observation, I guess is what they call it, as he continues to continue to be monitoring. But now all he takes every day is a baby aspirin, and that's it. That's just to prevent blood clots. So now he's sharing his story, Carl, with everyone in hopes of inspiring others who receive this terrible diagnosis.
That's absolutely amazing. Those numbers so damning, so dark to begin with, and then apparently what Freighter and the medical college have been able to do with that serious diagnosis to begin with. Let me start with this. Did they have an explanation of the treatment? I know you and I are not medical doctors here into the nitty-gritty, but is it a surgical approach? Is it another form of treatment that they believe has led to that dramatic rise up to 30% as opposed to 13%?
So Jeff credits the chemotherapy regimen that he was on, and forgive me, it's one of those medical names. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but it combines 4 different types of medication. So it's very aggressive, and he was actually worried that the chemo was going to wipe him out because, like we said, it was an aggressive form of not only cancer but an aggressive treatment option as well. He said the worst symptom that he had while he was receiving this chemo was hiccups. He had hiccups that wouldn't go away for a couple of days, but other than that, he said it was pretty easy to take, all things considered. But yeah, that's one thing. It was combined also with some radiation once they were able to get the tumor to a point where they were able to treat it in a better fashion. But yeah, I mean, it's just absolutely incredible. This is a man who's very active too. He loves windsurfing. He lives right out on a lake in the town of Merton, and just has been praying and reflecting on this, thinking that every day now is really truly a gift, which is why he's giving back. And that brings us to what you were talking about earlier about American Family Field.
Take it away, Brett. So yeah, there's a dinner to celebrate Jeff and also hopefully raise more money for a research that can lead to more of these amazing outcomes. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so a week from tomorrow, so I think that's August 16th, if I'm not mistaken, at American Family Field, they're having a fundraiser
15th,
for the
Seema
Magowitz Foundation. 15th.
Oh wait,
Thank
tomorrow.
You for
Never mind.
me.
You were right. You said tomorrow. I thought you meant from today. I should never question you, Brett.
Say it one more time, Carl.
I should never question you. You were right. August 16th.
So a week from tomorrow on Saturday, the Seema Magowitz Foundation is going to have really one of their largest fundraisers of the year, from what I understand. This is a national organization that deals specifically with pancreatic cancer. They raise money not only for research and for treatments, but also clinical trials as well. And they have a really unique event that I imagine is going to perk a lot of ears of Brewers fans. It's called Dinner on the Diamond, and for that whole meal on next Saturday night, you can eat dinner on the field at American Family Field and learn about the efforts that are underway right now to really find a cure and find better treatments for pancreatic cancer. Jeff is one of the speakers. He's going to be sharing his story that night, and it's all to honor really the work that's being done here at MCW, and specifically the doctor that was part of that headed Jeff's cancer treatment team.
How amazing is that? Yeah, if you're a Brewers fan of any right, they're in Cincinnati that weekend. So there you go. You get to have a meal on the same diamond that all those stars usually have their job at. Let me ask you this, Brett. If you heard maybe from the medical college people, where are we at with pancreatic cancer? So this has been, unfortunately, such a almost death knell for so many people over the years. And there are different, you never want to get a cancer diagnosis. There are some that are much more likely to survive than pancreatic. Is that changing? Is that shifting thanks to research and fundraising dollars like they'll raise next weekend? Or is it still quite a difficult disease?
Well, I can tell you this without directly answering your question, that the research and the advancements in not only pancreatic cancer, but cancer in general have certainly increased over the years. But here's the thing I think that maybe we should focus on is the diagnosis in general, right? Because just like Jeff was saying, he just had a pain in his stomach, didn't think anything of it, kind of brushed it off. And that's where, at least from some of the preliminary research that I've done about pancreatic cancer, that's really where a lot of the problem lies, is it's just not caught in time because people don't realize what those symptoms are.
As is often the case with a lot of these stories that we end up doing on these amazing recoveries, it's that feeling, right? Respond to that feeling. If something feels off, maybe it actually is. Not to say that every time you're a little under the weather, it's going to end up being cancer. But if you're feeling different than you're normally feeling, at least ask the question. Have a medical expert weigh in on that would probably be the message there.
Yeah, and also extraordinary too, Carl, that this man was in Tennessee, right? He wasn't even near, obviously from the area that we're in, but wasn't even back home, and everyone was telling him, go home, go back to Milwaukee and go to MCW and get your treatment there. And lo and behold, I mean, this man, truly extraordinary. When you hear him in our report that we'll post on Fox Local later tonight, I think it will really resonate with a lot of people and a lot of our viewers, not only because of his determination and his faith, but just because the odds are just, it's incredible.
It's
incredible
a good reminder
that he
how
was
lucky,
able to...
to survive. It's amazing, a reminder too of how lucky we are to have the medical college and Frederick and Children's on that same campus there right behind us here locally, because people do come from all over the country, all over the state for treatment here, because we're lucky to have those doctors. All right, Brett, let me ask you this question as we wrap up here a bit lighter. You've covered a water skier coming back from double knee surgery, a cancer patient now hopefully maybe getting back to windsurfing. Are you on the aquatic sports beat here in mid-August as we are wrapping up summer?
I guess, there is a theme there, isn't it? It's totally coincidental. They're not even affiliated with the same hospital chains. It was Aurora for the knee replacement, and obviously MCW for this gentleman. But hey, I'll take it. These are incredible people, and they have incredible stories to share, and I hope that our audience really finds value in hearing about them. I certainly have taken a lot away from just meeting them. They're inspirational people. Yeah,
I was just going to say, you took the word right out of my mouth, but inspiring hopefully to so many, and it's thanks to great characters that you've introduced us to and great doctors here that we have locally. Brett Lemoyne, thank you so much for joining us here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Really looking forward to that full story tonight.
Thanks, Carl.
And a reminder, as always, if you do want to see those stories that we talk about here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, we kind of catch our reporters in the moment as they're in the middle of their workdays, putting those stories together. The full effect, you'll get to hear from the man, Jeff Vanderkin himself, this evening on Fox 6 when it comes to the news at 4, 5, and 6, and look for it here on Fox Local, whether you're streaming the newscast or that separate report that Brett is putting together. You can find them both here on Fox Local later tonight. Quite a story from all that Brett was sharing there for us. All right, we're going to take another break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Much more to get to here on a Friday afternoon in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Hey, look, the bridge is open up in Door County. A sailboat just passing by Sturgeon Bay as it's headed out perhaps to the Bay of Green Bay and all the amazing different waters you can explore up there in Door County. It's been a fun live camera to watch here on this Friday. All right, that next quick break coming right now, and much more on the Wisconsin Live Desk after this.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Hey, welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. Working on pulling something up for you here right now that's just came into our feeds from the state of California. Different members of the Los Angeles city and county government have stepped to the podium here. Let's take you live as they discuss further immigration operations happening in Los Angeles and in California in general from the Trump administration. Let's listen to some of the response from officials
pick up
in
and
LA.
deliver our food, serve as first responders. They are the lifeblood of our communities. When our cities are shaken by fear, when trust between people and their local government is eroded, the very heart of our community suffers. By joining this case, Pomona, we are standing up against these harms and affirming our commitment to protect the rights of immigrant families and to uphold the democratic and constitutional principles that bind us together. Let's not forget that we are talking about our democratic rights and our constitutional rights, which affects every single American in this country. I want to thank our legal team, our immigrants' rights organizations, of course, Mayor Bass and the City of Los Angeles, and the plaintiffs who are courageously fighting to protect the right of our residents to live and to work without fear of being apprehended or having their families separated. Thank you.
And next up is the mayor of the great city of Southgate, the Honorable Maria Davila.
Thank you, District Attorney, for City Attorney.
I just got a promotion.
Thank you, and thank you all for being here today. Maria Davila from the great city of Southgate, here representing our community. We're here today, to show our upsetness of what's going on in our community. Southgate has seen a growing sense of fear, confusion. ICE operation have increased across the region. Families are afraid to leave their homes. Residents have come to city council meetings pleading for answers, for protection. We cannot ignore the real harm that this is doing to our community, the mental health that it's happening in our children, our family, our seniors, that they are afraid to go out to their senior events because they are afraid. Our police department has spent resources providing mutual aid for neighboring cities, pulling officers away from our own city. The impact has a significant to the city, made it difficult. And it was difficult for us, for the city of Southgate, to cancel our 4th of July celebration. For concern of public safety, fear, immigration enforcement action could target our residents during a time of celebration. Our local small businesses are suffering. Restaurants. Many residents are too afraid to shop and go out. This hurts our economy, reduces the tax revenue that we need to provide essential needs. We're especially worried that people may stop reporting crimes or cooperate with local law enforcement when ICE agents don't identify themselves or they have their face covered. We become unclear whether arrest is immigration related or local law enforcement. The confusion breaks the trust that we worked so hard to build. Southgate stands for safety, transparency, and the protection of all our residents' rights. We call for this accountability and respect for our community. The Sela community, the Southeast area, we all stand together because we need to protect our families. And I just want to thank everyone for being here and just to continue the support and continue working together as cities to protect our communities. Thank you.
While those speakers continue out in Los Angeles and from the surrounding areas, we do have to take one more break for you here on this first hour of the Wisconsin Live Desk. A couple minutes here, and then we'll be back with you after that.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back. Carl Defmo with you here, 127 on the Wisconsin Live Desk, which means I'm down to my final 3 minutes here of this first hour. Ben Handelman, just saw him walk by, ready to take over for the second hour. The Wisconsin Live Desk is here for you every Monday through Friday from 12:30 to 2:30. And before we go, at least I go, Ben will be here, wanted to mention some of what's to come over this final weekend of the Wisconsin State Fair. Just 3 more days to get out there and enjoy all of the fun and entertainment at the fair starting tonight, something I've had on my calendar for quite a while. Darius Rucker performing at the Bank 5-9 main stage tonight, followed by Leonard Skinnard on Saturday, and the Happy Together Tour to wrap up the 2025 Wisconsin State Fair on Sunday. But Darius Rucker tonight, of course, you get all of the country songs that have become his genre over the last few decades, but from what I've heard, the live performances, he's fantastic, both in the way that he sounds, of course, that great voice, but also all the throwbacks, too. He'll do some Hootie and the Blowfish songs in addition to the newer country stuff and some of the other things that you love, Wagon Wheel and the like. So if you're heading out to the State Fair for your Friday, you get to hear from Mr. Rucker tonight, and then Leonard Skinnard on Saturday, and the Happy Together Tour to wrap things up on Sunday. Now, some of the other things you should be aware of: the entrance policy remains the same as it has since opening day on the 31st of July. Any minors have to be accompanied by a parent or guardian after 5 p.m. So if you're going with your family, great. If you're going solo, you got to be in by 5. It must be accompanied by a parent or guardian after 5 o'clock. Each parent or guardian can also only chaperone 6 minors, so it's not like one adult can bring 12 friends all together to the fair. First of all, you need a really big car for that. Second of all, you do need to have basically a 1 per 6 guardian or parent to chaperone 6 minors there. And finally, one of the other things that you can check out, all the different ways to get there, of course. $15 parking if you want to drive yourself. Bicycles park for free if you can do the ride over there. Rideshare options, of course, and the Dousman transportation shuttles, in addition to bar and restaurant shuttles from camp and Brat House and the like, running throughout the run of the fair as well. All right, it is about that time. Ben Handelman is outside the window just chomping at the bit, waiting to get in here for his hour of the Wisconsin Live Desk on this Friday. We're going to use a bit more of that press conference happening from LA County, some different officials speaking about immigration efforts in the city and county of Los Angeles and all of the ways that Southern California has been impacted by the continued push and immigration crackdowns from the administration. Let's have that carry us over our transfer period here, and Ben Handelman will be with you after that. Thanks a lot for watching the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Agents have been using are un-American and unconstitutional. And Carpinteria's participation in this lawsuit is reaffirming to our community that we truly believe that everyone's rights deserve to be protected, and we truly are a community for all in Carpinteria. Thank you.
And last but far from least, my friend Mayor Arturo Flores from the city of Huntington Park.
Thank you, guys. Just want to give my sincere gratitude to the city attorney from LA for the brave leadership that she's displayed in bringing this matter forward. The case that's taking place now, it's a pivotal case in the fight of us that we're having against some of the grave injustices that we've been seeing take place. I'll remind the public that this is what initiated and has led to the TRO stopping some of these arbitrary stops. So the city of Huntington Park is proud to stand with the city of LA, and we're proud to stand with the leaders that you see up here and trying to restore order and trying to restore some type of faith in the Constitution of the United States and the protections that are supposed to be afforded to everyone that resides in the United States. I will say this. I did get here a bit late. I just got off the phone with one of my residents for the city of Huntington Park. Her name is Sabrina Medina. Some of the media might have seen that her and her mother were detained yesterday in MacArthur Park. In June of this year, the city of Huntington Park was catapulted into a bad episode of reality TV. And I mean that in reference to the Dr. Phil show and Director of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, coming to my city to film a propaganda commercial. They were looking for Ms. Medina's husband, who they were looking to deport. They did not find him. No arrests were made. They came back in July without Kristi Noem. The same thing, trying to enter the property without displaying a proper search warrant. Same thing, no arrest was done. Yesterday, federal agents descended in MacArthur Park and arrested Ms. Sabrina Medina and her mother, Elizabeth Medina. In the course of that arrest, Sabrina Medina, who's 5 months pregnant, had to be rushed to a hospital because she suffered some sort of medical emergency. When she was being treated, simultaneously, somewhere in between that, she was being interrogated by federal agents about the whereabouts of her estranged husband. I will say this, Ms. Medina was released yesterday evening. However, federal agents have informed her that they will keep her mother because she's here under the U visa. And they have given her an ultimatum. You either turn your husband over, which she's continued to claim has no idea where he's at, or we're going to hold your mother hostage and do everything in our power to deport her. That's the kind of tactics, that's the kind of domestic terror that we're dealing with, that my residents are dealing with, and it's unacceptable. I'll say it also in Spanish. Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Arturo Flores, soy el alcalde de la ciudad de Huntington Park. Quiero agradecerle a Heidi Fassi Soto por su liderazgo y también a los líderes que ven aquí detrás de nosotros. El junio pasado nuestra ciudad fue víctima de una operación de propaganda por la directora de Seguridad Nacional, Kristi Noem, y el show de Dr. Phil. Llegaron a una casa de 1,000 residentes de una muchacha que se llama Sabrina Medina, que tiene 5 meses de embarazo, buscando a su
Ambleman here
esposo.
from the Wisconsin Live Desk as we're getting ready set for a new hour. So you are listening right now. This is LA officials talking about their disdain for the ICE operations that are happening in California right now, as we're hearing from just different lawmakers. I've got a new feed that's popped up. Let's just show you what we're following here as I'm trying to get set here. This is the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office waiting a press conference here, coming down from one of our Fox feeds. I'm going to pull this up real quick. We're also got our eyes on the White House right now. Right here. I'm going to show you. There is the front of the White House. We are waiting for the arrival of 2 foreign leaders that are set to meet with President Donald Trump, the president of Armenia, and the president of Azerbaijan. So those Eastern European nations making their way to the White House. So we got eyes on the White House. You can see all the reporters. They're waiting for the limos to arrive. This is supposed to take place right now, 1:35. They're running maybe a few minutes behind. So we do have, as you can see, all the Secret Service members. There is the flag of Armenia at the front of the White House. We do expect the president getting ready to meet the Prime Minister of Armenia today. Here we go. Here comes the honor guard. Let's see. I wonder if I have audio on this channel. Pretty cool shot. Let's just wait here for a second as you're seeing an honor guard getting ready for a Prime Minister arrival, again from Armenia. The president is making news not with Armenia, but with Mexico today, saying he wants to directly target the foreign drug cartels, and he wants U.S. armed forces to carry out missions against the drug cartels. The Mexican president is responding, saying in her country, these U.S. troops are unwelcome. So all this focus right now is on Armenia at the White House, but some of the big news is coming out of Mexico with the U.S.-Mexico relations. So the flags are ready. We're getting closer for the Prime Minister of Armenia to arrive here in our nation's capital. You know what, here's what we're going to do here on the live desk. I'm going to take a quick break. When we come back, hopefully we'll get the arrival here of the Prime Minister of Armenia meeting with President Trump. You're watching the Wisconsin Live Desk here exclusively on Fox News.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Ben Haleman from the Wisconsin Live Desk. It's 1:40 on your Friday, 90 degrees out there. It's a steamy day. Still watching the White House. This is a peace deal that has been brokered by the Trump administration from two countries that honestly a lot of Americans do not think about, but Azerbaijan and Armenia are two countries that have a fiery past, two former Soviet Union nations, and there is a region in between those countries that's been disputed for decades, and there was a bloody war into the 90s between Azerbaijan and Armenia over this piece of land and the ethnic Armenians that live there, and it's been a flashpoint really ever since that war. Well, the Trump administration, Steve Witkoff, who's the special envoy who's been traveling the world trying to deliver some of the peace agreements like this, have come to an agreement, allegedly, and there will be what they're calling a peace summit here at the White House between the Prime Minister of Armenia and the Prime Minister of Azerbaijan. They will both meet here, two countries that do not like each other, and there has been bloodshed in this region. So we'll keep watching this as we're waiting for the arrival of both those prime ministers and both those envoys to meet with President Trump in the White House. Not sure how much of this will be behind cameras, but we're watching that. I want to get you out to Philadelphia. Got a new feed for you. I believe this is the district attorney. Let's see what they're talking about out there in Philly.
In other places, in other cases, at other times, of course it is. These types of offenses, these sexual assault types of offenses, are among the most underreported for 100 reasons we know. And I hope that there is someone out there who either as a witness or as a victim can shed more light on Dynell Walker, because, oh, trust me, we're listening. But I also hope that there are people out there who may have suffered a terrible crime like this from someone else who will come forward, because they will start to see that the Philadelphia Police Department and this office are utterly and completely dedicated to making sure that that is captured, that that is separated from society, that that is held accountable in every way. The Philadelphia District Attorney's Office has a victim services team that can be accessed at 215-686-8000. Anyone who has information on defendant Dynell Walker or someone who you believe might be him, please contact the Philadelphia Police or our office and let us know, or both. And anyone who feels that there's an incident that was not reported that you're more willing to report now, please do the same. We could not be more serious about wanting to make sure that there is safety, that there is security for people who are walking around Center City, and that there is accountability for anybody who would violate them. I am joined today, and happy to be joined, by Lakeisha Anthony, who is the Senior Manager of Advocacy for WAR, that's WOAR, also known as the Philadelphia Center Against Sexual Violence, which has been a tremendous partner with this office for many years. We have ADA Amanda Hedrick, who's the Chief of the DAO's Charging Unit, ADA Katrina Wattis, who is the Chief of the DAO's Family Violence and Sexual Assault Unit. We have Mariel Dela Cruz, Director of the DAO's Victim Services Unit, and Tracy Washington, Assistant Director of Support Services for the DAO's Victim Services Unit. We also have, I hope I don't mispronounce this, I almost said Hirion, but we have Giriana Hernandez, Assistant Director of External Victim Services Partnerships with the DAO's Victim Services Unit. I'm going to say less and let all of these good people say more, and then I'll have some comments at the end and field any questions we may have. In this order, I'm going to ask these good people to come forward and provide information in relation to this case, and you all know what information that is. First, ADA Amanda Hedrick. Second, ADA Katrina Wattis. Third, Mariel
Ben Haleman from the Wisconsin Live Desk. They've made a big arrest out there in Philadelphia. We've covered a little bit of this here on the Wisconsin Live Desk as we've been dipping into Philly as they've been looking for a serial rapist, and now they believe they've got him, a man by the name of Dynell Walker. Let's listen to the officials as they're making this
these
announcement.
Incidents and the charges that have been filed in these matters. The first incident that has been charged occurred on August 2nd of 2025 at approximately 8:15 a.m. In the area of 1600 Waverly Street. The 36-year-old female victim was approached from behind by the offender, who put his arm around her neck and squeezed. He then indecently assaulted her. She screamed and was able to get away from the offender, who then left the area. The second incident occurred on August 3rd of 2025 at approximately 1:58 a.m. in the area of 17th and Lombard Streets. That involves a 26-year-old female victim who felt someone walking closely behind her. Believing that the person was trying to move past her, she turned around to let that person go past. When the offender grabbed her, pushed her up against a car, and then indecently assaulted her, she began screaming, and the offender then released her eventually and let her run away. And then the third incident that we're discussing also occurred on August 3rd at approximately 12:30 p.m. That is in the area of the 2500 block of Webster Street. In that case, a 27-year-old female victim was approached from behind by the offender, who grabbed her body and put his arms around her. He then indecently assaulted her. She began screaming, and the defendant eventually let her go before she was able to run inside, and he then left the area. The police were able to gather surveillance video, and through all of that surveillance video and a series of anonymous tips in response to images that were disseminated to the public, investigators from the Special Victims Unit were able to identify the perpetrator of these offenses as 27-year-old Dynell Walker. The information, the evidence in these cases was submitted to the charging unit of the district attorney's office. All of that information was reviewed, and an affidavit was approved, and a warrant was issued for Mr. Walker. He was apprehended on August 6th. And he is charged with the following offenses. He's charged with 1 count of aggravated indecent assault, 2 counts of indecent assault, 3 counts of unlawful restraint, and then an assortment of misdemeanor charges related to those incidents. For these 3 matters, his bail is set at a total of $1.5 million.
Good afternoon. The Family Violence and Sexual Assault Unit is a specialty unit at the District Attorney's Office, dedicated to the prosecution of domestic violence, child abuse, and sexual assault. These cases are prosecuted by some of the most experienced prosecutors in this office, alongside a group of paralegals and victim advocates who have dedicated their careers to the prosecution of these types of crimes. It is an honor and a privilege to work alongside of them and represent them as their supervisor here today. Crimes like this have lasting effects, not only on the victims and their families, but on the community as a whole. Our goal is to protect the community and to restore a sense of safety in the community. Women deserve to feel safe in this city. All people do. FESA partners closely with the Special Victims Unit and with other outside agencies such as the Philadelphia Center for Sexual Violence, who you'll hear from today. We partner closely to accomplish that goal. I want to thank the Special Victims Unit for their thorough investigation, which led to the swift apprehension of Mr. Walker. I also want to thank the survivors who had the courage to come forward and report these crimes. Crimes that, as the DA said, are so often underreported. FESA is honored to serve them and the public in the pursuit of justice. If you are a survivor of sexual assault, or if you have information about these assaults, and you wish to come forward, please know that the District Attorney's Office and the Special Victims Unit are here to help you. The Special Victims Unit can be contacted at 215-686-3251. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. At the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office, our Victim Services Unit is committed to standing with survivors of sexual violence, not just as they seek justice, but as they take a step to towards healing. We understand that these crimes can have a deep, lasting impact in communities, and our mission is to ensure that every survivor is met with compassion, respect, and support. In the Family Violence and Sexual Assault Unit, we have assigned victim witness coordinators that play a vital role in the prosecution. From the moment a case is assigned, they become the survivor's dedicated advocate. They explain the court process, they accompany survivors to court, and provide updates on progress of the case. They also address practical needs, such as arranging transportation to and from court. They also assist the ADAs in cases to make sure that cases are prepped. They as well connecting survivors with counseling and social services. In addition, we also work with survivors in assessing their safety and any concern, emotional safety and physical safety. We also partner with our relocations program, our relocation assistance unit, in providing safety to those survivors that come forward. Our coordinators don't just work on the legal side. They are advocates, they're listeners, and guides who make sure survivors never have the negative, they never have to navigate the system alone. They collaborate closely with prosecutors, investigators, and community partners such as WAR to make sure the voices of survivors are heard, their rights are protected, and that their well-being is prioritized through this process. Survivors of sexual violence deserve to be believed. They deserve to feel safe and to know that they're not alone through this process. Our Victim Services Unit is here to provide the guidance, the advocacy, and support the support that they need to move forward and to find some healing and some justice through this process.
Good afternoon. My name is Lakeisha Anthony. I am the Senior Manager of Advocacy at WAR Philadelphia Center Against Sexual Violence. I stand before you today not only as an advocate, but also as a survivor of sexual assault. As someone who has lived through the trauma of sexual violence, I understand the fear, the isolation, and the weight of coming forward. It takes an extraordinary amount of strength to share your story, to endure a forensic exam, and to potentially face your perpetrator, especially in a world that doesn't always listen or believe. But today is proof that your voices can lead to action, that your truth can be heard, that sexual violence is prevalent in our society, and that survivors' voices do matter. At the Center of Sexual Violence, we walk beside survivors every single day through crisis, through healing, through silence, and through justice processes. What this case shows that
Well, it looks like we've lost our feed there from Philadelphia, as that's been replaced there with a view of the White House there. So we'll continue to watch that. 5 different assaults occurred there in Philadelphia, and now they believe that they've got this suspect in custody, and you're hearing those are members from the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office saying the suspect, Darnell Walker, has a $1.5 million bail. Another feed we're watching right now, live look, this is just outside of the White House. We are waiting the arrival of the Prime Minister of Armenia and the President of Azerbaijan, and just like that, it appears we've got the Prime Minister arriving here at the White House. Let's listen in.
Giriş yapıyor. Donald Trump'ı da görebiliyoruz. Şöyle. President Trump, sir, your message to representatives. Trump, do you have a message for persecuted Christian Armenians, sir?
Okay, there you can see the president with the Prime Minister of Armenia. President Trump is calling that a historic peace summit that is occurring inside the White House. Apologies as we're switching some of the feeds here. Between Armenia and Azerbaijan, two countries that do not like each other, that have been at war really for decades over this one area of the country. So they're meeting inside the White House today. This is an area where ethnic Armenians who are Christian and ethnic Azerbaijanians who are Muslim have lived side by side. And as you were seeing members of now these groups kind of walk into the White House, these are two former Soviet Union countries. And when the Soviet Union fell apart, this really increased the tensions there between these two nations there in Eastern Europe and Asia, both kind of a transcontinental area where the continents kind of shift there. And it's been bloody. I mean, tens of thousands of people have died on both sides of this war. Hundreds of thousands of people have been displaced due to the unrest in this region. And there have been peace summits before, and it usually was done through Russia. So this is really interesting that we're seeing kind of a new shift here, as President Trump is the one who says that he's come to a peace agreement between these two countries, and they are expected to sign that peace agreement inside the White House today between Armenia and Azerbaijan. Again, these are two countries that Americans don't think a lot about, but it is an area of the world that has been bloody, and there has been conflict there. And this is the Trump administration trying to show that, yes, America still is the greatest mediator for peace in the world. And President Trump hoping for a big victory today when these two countries that do not like each other and have a history of war will meet, hopefully, for this peace agreement that is expected to be signed there in the White House. So we'll keep watching this. Out there in Washington, a lot closer to home, we're watching the weather a little bit around here as it is steamy out there. Temperature's dipping a bit, was 90 degrees a short time ago. Looks like maybe a lake breeze might be kicking in a little bit, but it's still 87 degrees and steamy. So we're watching the heat. It's going to be a very hot weekend. The good news is our air quality is much better, as the only air quality we're facing now is from the heat and the ozone level, as that Canadian wildfire smoke has finally lifted on out of here as the pattern has changed around here. So we're watching the weather as the weekend gets underway. We got to take a quick break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, but I am really excited for my next guest. Because we've got the South Milwaukee Fire Chief is coming in to talk about a piece of history that fire department has saved. We'll talk about it next on the Wisconsin Live Desk.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
What up, news nerds? Ben Handelman from the Wisconsin Live Desk studios here in Southeast Wisconsin and our Brown Deer station. This is the show where it's live, it's happening, you are seeing it all unfold raw. You're not going to see anything edited here. Everything that is happening is literally happening before our eyes, like what's happening out at the White House right now as a peace summit is underway between Armenia and Azerbaijan, two nations who've been at war really for decades. They're meeting at the White House because President Donald Trump says he has got these two countries to come together to sign a peace agreement, and that is happening right now. We just saw the Armenian Prime Minister arrive, the President of Azerbaijan next on the list. So we're following our feeds from the White House. There's a live look. But we got to bring it close to the home. We got the State Fair this weekend, all the heat that is currently back in. The good news with the heat is we got the Canadian wildfire smoke out of here. So, yeah, we got to deal with the heat, but we'll be breathing a little bit easier as long as you drink a lot of water and you're okay. But, hey, I'm really excited for our next guest here on the Live Desk because the city of South Milwaukee has a fire department that is undertaking something very big, but it's near and dear to their heart because it is a piece of their history. And to talk about that, I want to bring in the fire chief, John Litchford, joining us here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Thanks for joining us here, Chief. Oh, here, I got to pull your audio up here. Sorry, Chief. Once again, thanks for joining us here on the Live Desk.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
So tell me about this. This is exciting because I'm not the stereotype firefighters, but there are two things I think firefighters are really good at: cooking food and owning your history. And this is something that you guys have done. You have received a piece of the South Milwaukee Fire Department history. Tell us about what you got your hands on.
Yeah, not too long ago, we were contacted by the owner of the Wisconsin Auto Museum, and Owen Franz. He was reached out from a woman up in the Richland Center area, and she had one of our 1938 American LaFrance original fire trucks, and they asked us if we would want it back. And you know, I thought about it for about a second, and I said yes. It was one of these things. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity. You know, is this something that I need in my life? Absolutely not. I don't need a 87-year-old restoration project, but I felt that, you know, South Milwaukee, we're really big into our heritage. We celebrate Heritage Week, and we were able to receive it for our Heritage Week. We had it for our Wednesday celebration. A lot of the community came out and looked at it. It's going to be a great project, and we set a goal to have this thing up and running for our Heritage Day Parade in 1 year from that week. So we're looking forward to having this going and ready. And actually today, the street department's mechanics, they got it to cough. They changed the plugs, changed the coils, and they got it to crank over. We got the siren making noise and the lights working. So it's fantastic.
That is incredible. You know, you guys are paid to fight fires. I'm just impressed you even know how to restore something from 1938. How are you guys going to do this?
We absolutely have no idea what we're doing, but we're going to figure this out. That's the one thing that's the other thing firefighters have, is that we don't quit, and we know how to hit a curveball, and we've been handed something that we will figure it out. We will get it done. We've got a lot of great partners with the Wisconsin Auto Museum. We have the street department. We have the backing of our city. We have the Cyrus Foundation stepped up to help us with the vehicle was donated, but we needed to have it trucked down here.
Right.
And so the Cyrus Foundation gave us the funds to have it shipped down here for about $1,400. So, so we're looking forward to this project, and like I said, showcasing it next year during the Heritage Day Parade.
I think this is so cool. I mean, just the pictures of this fire truck. I'm just trying to think what firefighting was like back in 1938. I mean, just for the department to have something that was on wheels and was running, that was a fire truck, that must have been top of the line back then.
Well, right there, I mean, you got to think not just coming in line very much, and you look at it, it's an open cab. I'm dating myself here, but when I first came on the job, some of our reserve fleet in Milwaukee, I rode in open cabs, and it was miserable. It was some very cold nights on cold runs, but on the long side, you see the tailboards and the sideboards. That's where the firefighters stood when they were going on runs. And while we don't do that anymore for safety reasons, this was a top of the line vehicle probably back in 1938. And, just as a lot of things, that vehicle has a lot of original tools on it. And we look at it and the siren's the same, the lights are the same, the pumps and the how we flow the water, some of it's changed, but a lot of it has stayed the same. So it's kind of neat to see where we have grown, but some of it where the basic tactics, the ladder rack in the back, it's the same. A lot of it's the same layout. So it's really neat to see where we came from, where we have grown, but also where we have stayed the same.
And I mean, you talked about it. Firefighting is still a dangerous job. But as I'm looking at the pictures there, what it was like to be a firefighter back in the 1930s, you're talking Wisconsin winters, and you're jumping on the side of that thing, racing down streets that we're not used to the streets like we have today. I mean, these were bumpy streets. I'm sure in the 1930s there may have still been horses in parts of the burbs still out on the street that this vehicle was dodging.
I think every generation says they had it harder than the one before, but I can honestly say that driving in that vehicle was probably a lot harder than driving in the vehicles today.
So cool. Do you know the history of this vehicle, like when it was decommissioned from the fire department and where it's been sitting all of these years?
So we are actively looking for that right now. We're working with the library and as well as our historical society, and we're looking for that. All we know is that the auto museum was able to track down the vehicle number, and that's how they were able to get the order number and track it down to knowing that the city of South Milwaukee purchased this from American La France. So all we know is we purchased it in 1938, and you figure a timeline of vehicles service life around 25 years, for a suburban department, if sometimes less, sometimes not too much longer than that. So that's a timeline that we're kind of looking at, but we're going to have more information. And by next year, when this is going, we're going to have all that detailed for us as we move forward. So have me back on in a few months, and definitely in 1 year, and we will have that story for you.
That's what I like about this story, is that it's kind of unfolding before our eyes. So tell me again, when you found out this existed, and how long had the previous owner had it, and where was it sitting again?
It's somewhere in Richland Center, and she's a donor who doesn't, her desire not to be known was very clear. She made that, she doesn't want, I don't even know her name.
Do you know how they got the vehicle and how long they had it for?
It sounds like it has not run for over 30 years. And it sounds like they had it for about 20 years. So they've had it for about 50 years, it sounds like.
And do you know where they picked it up? Just at auction somewhere?
I would guess somewhere in an auction. And after the city of South Milwaukee, we scrape off the numbers, we send it up for auction, and they kind of, sometimes other cities will buy them, but a lot of times, you'll see them and they make beer trucks out of them. They make, pizza ovens out of them. So you'll see all kinds of things that they'll do with old fire trucks.
Not usually this old, though. A 1938 truck here.
Yeah,
And how did
it
you
sounds like this one. I mean, if you look at the body and how well it's preserved, it seems like this one must have sat up in a barn somewhere and it's been there, because even the seat itself is in really good condition.
I mean, the fact that you guys are all sitting in it and nobody's falling through due to mice eating it out over the years.
The tailboards, the sideboards are in good shape. We looked at the fuel tank. There's some sludge in there, but it's in good shape. The engine it's in very good shape. It was well taken care of, and we continue to do the same. And it's undercover right now. We're keeping it in. And like I said, within just changing the plugs, we were able to get it to make some noise.
That's
and
awesome.
The siren and the lights are working.
That is so cool. Now, did the donor call you and basically said, "Hey, I've got your fire truck. Come get it if you want it"? Is that how that played out?
Yeah, through a third party. That's kind of how it worked out. She called Owen Franz of the museum, and he made that call and basically said, "Do you want this?" And I kind of said, "Yeah, let's make this happen." And then I went to my boss and he said, "Absolutely. This seems like a really cool project." And, my boss even said he rarely gets excited, but he was excited to see this one happen. So,
well, I'm just so used to fire departments across Wisconsin, really across the nation, are so good at paying respect to their history. Look at what the Milwaukee Fire Department's doing this year for their 150th. Yeah. They're going to have a big celebration. They've got a bunch of cool old equipment. But this, I mean, it means something that it is a line of work that is not easy, but your industry seems more than others. You really do pay the respect for the people who came before you that are doing the job that you're doing.
Absolutely. You learn from the people before us, and you everything that I know, I picked that up. I wasn't born with any type of experience on how to fight fire. I learned this from every mentor that I ever sat beside, every boss that taught me everything. It was all given to me by someone else. Every tool that I learned to use was taught to me by someone else. Everything that I know, I have given to someone else. So you have to pass that information on. So you just do the same thing with vehicles. And so when you have the opportunity to find something like this and breathe life back into it, absolutely. Take the time, say yes.
Well, it sounds like it's not just the fire department, but the whole community now seems like they're invested in this. If the public works department's coming out and saying, let's see if we can get this thing to make some noise and turn the lights on.
I can't speak more of the street department and the mechanics over there, Justin and Dan. They've taken it on almost as a personal challenge to get this thing up and running, and they've worked on it for less than a week. And pulling out plugs that are 40 years old and never been touched, that's taken time. And like I said, he probably has less than 8 hours into it, and he's got it. It's not running yet, and I'm not going to jinx it, but he's got it close.
Where are you going to keep this thing? I mean, space is probably at a premium for you guys with your own equipment. Have you figured out where this thing is going to stay?
Absolutely not. I have absolutely no clue, but we'll figure it out. That's just one of the things we have to do is space. I'll work with our local public storage facilities. I'll work with other members here, the water department. Everyone doesn't have space. We don't have space, but like I said, this is, as I said before, I did not need this problem in my life, but we're taking it and we're going to solve it, and we're going to have fun with it. Absolutely.
I am so happy you are, because this is such a cool thing for the community, the kids, a great community in South Milwaukee. I'll just show it one more time. A 1938, the name of it, American LaFrance, right? They're one of the early, are they still making fire trucks?
They are not, but they have a cool website where you can go to, and if you ever find an old one, they will help you with restoration projects and like find the original department that purchased them. It's a neat website. I've kind of looked into it a little bit, and it's kind of neat of what you can find out about old trucks and things like that.
You're learning as you go. As you said, that
Yes.
maybe has been how your career has been. And we really appreciate you coming here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. We're going to have to bring you back now because this is really only the beginning.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to having another conversation about this truck. So thank you for having me.
Chief John Litchford from South Milwaukee. Appreciate it. This is so cool. Appreciate it. We're going to bring you back for sure. Have a great day. Thanks for coming on.
You as well. Take care.
Man, what a cool truck. That's unbelievable. And the fact that it's making noise, I think that's giving us all faith that you could hear the street department, they're invested in this. Hopefully they get that thing up and running, and I want to be there and see it go down the street of a future parade down there in South Milwaukee. All right, thanks to the chief for coming on. We're going to take a quick break, and we got some new feeds just popping up, so stay with us here on the Wisconsin Live Desk.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Hey, news nerds, Ben Handelman. It's the Wisconsin Live Desk. We're wrapping up the week here. It's 2:18 on your Friday afternoon. I'm already thinking about the weekend as we're looking outside right now. It is pretty hot out there. 87 degrees in Milwaukee. But I will say that the smoke appears to be pretty much out of here as we're taking live looks from around the region there here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Really incredible shot of Milwaukee right there. There's City Hall, and you're looking straight up Water Street. Very few clouds in the sky. The heat is an issue, but the only kind of air quality we're dealing with is the ozone layer from pollution, like cars and pavement and stuff. So a little bit here in the city, but that's normal this time of year, especially when it gets this hot. So we are still watching that feed as well. I still got my eyes on the White House, where they're calling this a historic peace summit between Azerbaijan and Armenia. And the Armenian prime minister already arrived, so now the Azerbaijan contingency will be next, and they are expected to sign a peace deal in the White House between two former Soviet Union countries that have been at war really for decades. It sparked in the 80s and 90s, tens of thousands of people killed on both sides. There's a disputed territory between Armenia and Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan, as recently 2023 and 2020, went in to this area and basically kicked out all the Armenians and 100,000 people fled from the region who are the ethnic Armenians, and there has been bloodshed really ever since the Soviet Union fell apart in this disputed area where ethnic Christians and ethnic Muslims from the two countries kind of lived side by side and haven't always gotten along. There have been attempts in the past to bring these countries together, and usually it was Russian-focused because of them being former Soviet Union countries. But with Russia currently at war in Ukraine, many analysts say that Russia's taken their eye off the ball of these countries in their backyard, and now the West and the U.S. has come in to try and add their influence into the region, and they, right now, you can see, have apparently reached a peace deal, and President Trump taking a victory lap on his Truth social media. I do see a car in the background. I'm not sure if those will be coming through the gate here, as we do expect the president here of Azerbaijan may be arriving as we speak. Let's listen in real quick. All right, so we're still watching this. If I see some movement from a car, I'll try and bring this to us live here. Let's bring it back a lot closer to home as well. A lot of us have weekend plans. I'm going to try and make it out to the State Fair as this is the final weekend of the State Fair. And my eyes are on some of the entertainment that will be happening because it is a big weekend at the State Fairgrounds in West Dallas. Darius Rucker will be playing tonight on the main stage right there on the track. Delaney, our producer, are you a Darius Rucker fan?
Yeah, I like him.
Okay. I am an OG wagon wheel. Like, who are the original, who did that song first? Old Crow Medicine something? Did they do it first?
Yeah, Old Crow Medicine Show did.
Yeah, I like that version better. I know that's kind of, Darius Rucker has done that song too. Okay, I'm just seeing some movement from the White House. Let's get back there because the president has appeared, as it looks like he just pumped his fist. So let's listen in as the president of Azerbaijan is arriving for what the president is calling a historic peace summit. The president very proud of this historic peace deal, as he's calling it, that will be signed. Let's listen in here, live from the White House here on the Wisconsin Live Desk.
İlham Aliyev'in aracı şu an Beyaz Saray'da Molotov önüne geldi ve İlham Aliyev'in saniyeler sonra giriş yapmasını bekliyoruz. Donald Trump da kapıya gelmiş, buna hazır bekliyor İlham Aliyev'i. Bakalım hemen araçlar giriş yaptı. Tesisli var.
Trump, sir, how confident are you there could be lasting peace between Armenia and Azerbaijan?
Very confident.
And does the deal today protect Christians?
Thank you very much.
There you have it. That is the president of Azerbaijan. Whoa, what did I press? Okay, let's take that shot. And I know what I've screwed up here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. There we go. Historic peace deal, peace summit, expected to be signed there at the White House, again, between Armenia and Azerbaijan. I've said this before. It's two countries that, honestly, Americans don't think about a lot. But it's very important to the world, and there has been violence in these two countries. So hopefully this will bring peace to the region, as you are seeing now the Azerbaijani contingency and members of that staff now move inside the White House. So we'll stay on top of this. Got some other feeds that I'm following. Stay with us here on the Wisconsin.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Ben Haleman from the Wisconsin Live Desk. I want to just share with you some news coming from the NFL and the Packers, as Packers star Billy Howton, believed to have been the oldest living NFL player, dies at the age of 95. Incredible that the oldest living NFL player, 95 years old, that there are no centurions among the group. And some of the early teams, obviously one of the oldest teams is Green Bay, really the ragtag group, and just think how differently the NFL was when star Billy Howton played on the field, when it really was just kind of a community sport back in the day. Many players in the early days of the NFL decided to forego an NFL contract because they wouldn't make any money. And so some of the biggest college stars said, yeah, I'm not playing pro football. I want to go into the business world. And so Billy Howton, obviously, part of that group that has seen a different era of the NFL and sadly died. But what a life at 95 years old. Watching that. Okay, whether this is something we're watching here on the Live Desk, beautiful weekend ahead. I think there are a couple chances of showers, but really, what a beautiful day out there today if you can deal with the humidity. So have some fun outside this weekend. I'm watching the traffic map. Not too shabby. We're still dealing with the construction woes and the afternoon commute, and the up north crowd hasn't really hit the northbound outlines of 43 yet, but we do have that construction. National Avenue, 94, that's slow going. So just be, that's the normal slow spots, but not too worried about anything going on out there. Hey, the joy of this app. You can go on all of the stories that we showed you today, what's happening at the White House, what's happening locally, right here on your Fox Local app. Go through, click what you want. You can click the weather. You get the latest there. And, of course, we'll have more news coming up. Open Record will be on next. Thanks for joining us here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. We'll see you next week. We'll see you in our newscast later tonight.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
There's a haze in the air.
I don't want to spend a lot of time out here.
And it's not from any tailgate.
I'm old enough to be a little short of breath in this.
It's another Wisconsin summer clouded in wildfire smoke.
I don't see that pattern shifting anytime soon.
6 congressional Republicans are calling out Canada.
I've shaken the hands of American firefighters.
And our neighbors to the north are firing back.
And I would challenge these ambulance chasers in the U.S. Congress to go and do the same.
This week on Open Record, is there anything Canada can really do?
We do not see any quick reprieve.
To help us,
I guess God said keep your butt home.
Breathe a little easier. From the Fox 6 Studios, this is Open Record. I'm Brian Polson, and I'm joined by Open Record's executive producer, Sarah Smith. Hello, Sarah.
Hello.
And we are joined for his maiden voyage on Open Record by Fox 6 chief meteorologist Rob Haswell. Rob, thanks for being here in the studio.
Hey, it's nice to still have firsts left in this building after 20 years.
Right? And of course, we bring Rob in when we're talking about Canada. That's the way it works, right?
It's convenient. Yeah, happy to do it. I mean, obviously that's the connection there, but there's obviously the big meteorological connection as well. And this is a story that just isn't going away.
And we're going to talk about that. We are recording this on Wednesday, August 6th. As of this morning, Milwaukee's air quality index, according to IQ Air, 102. That's still in the unhealthy range, a little better than it's been